Black belt.
So
How's it feel?
feels good, man. I knew eventually, it was sort of like gonna come my way. If I kept showing up, it's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
I guess I started martial arts overall a little while ago, and once I got into jiu-jitsu, that was like really it for me.
Yeah.
It was that martial art where like I kept going, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to go to the other ones. That was what kept me over there.
Why though? Why the jiu-jitsu one and why not? And first of all, when did you start martial arts, I guess?
So I guess around 2011 or so, I gave it a try to like start boxing.
Right.
Back in Puerto Rico, it's huge over there. And then transition into doing Muay Thai around 2014.
Yeah.
Kicked out of college, came back. It was sort of like one of those things where like you can't go out, just like look for like a healthy outlet.
Right.
And I ended up at a Muay Thai gym in Santurce, La Calle Serra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I ended up over there, and it was just like I really liked it. I could go twice a day, and just felt like my day was done.
Right.
I can go to bed, wake up the next day, and I was like, "This is what I want to do."
You felt accomplished.
Yeah, I was getting hit more than I was hitting at them, but it got better with time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like that, dude. Whenever you start a martial art, well, there's some martial arts that you're starting to suck, but like you started with the good ones.
Yeah.
Like you didn't start with the sucky ones.
I know, but then, and I actually tried jiu-jitsu before getting into it. It just
But did you start in Puerto Rico?
I had so this is the funny thing. So back then, that was a Muay Thai gym, but I did a few Muay Thai fights that were local and ended up doing MMA out of nowhere because an opportunity showed up.
What the fuck? I didn't know you did MMA, bro.
They were like, hey, like this fight opened up, it's 185 and it's in St. Thomas and one of the islands.
Yeah.
And I was like, should I do it? I did 3 Muay Thai fights, did pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I went to the session on my first one, and on the other 2, I finished them pretty quickly.
You fucking knocked people out?
I knocked people out.
This son of a bitch didn't tell me this ever.
And it felt really good. And I was like, I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, you know what? How hard could it be?
Yeah.
Like I'm athletic. I don't really quit easily, so I should give this a try.
Yeah.
And it turned into me going over there, taking like 3 weeks of like intensive. We had a brown belt at the time that his name was Gil, and Gil actually lives in the U.S. now. He's a black belt and he has his own school. Haven't talked to him in a while, but great guy. And he was like, well, listen, we got to learn like emergency stuff, right? You got to learn how to get up.
Yeah.
And you got to know how these things work, so you can defend the takedown. This is probably going to happen right off the bat.
Right.
Little did I know, go to St. Thomas, the bell rings, immediately hit the ground. One of the first things he showed me was getting a guillotine and a triangle.
Okay.
And we drilled that forever. And got the guy in a guillotine and didn't let him go for like 3 minutes.
Oh, shit. Your arms are probably dead.
Burned.
Yeah.
Burned, literally. And we go into the second round, and I'm like, I gotta finish this guy. Like, I have no option. I'm dead.
Right.
This guy just hit me in the body. At that time, the amateurs could only hit in the body.
Yeah.
They couldn't do ground and pound in the head unless you had like 3 fights.
Okay.
And I got up and I just swung for the fences. And I ended up knocking the guy out.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, in MMA. And that was like my debut. And I was like, man, I really like this, But I hate being on the ground. Like, I really didn't like it. And then I ended up taking a fight later on.
Another MMA fight?
Yeah, for a title in New York.
Did you say how many? Jesus, dude. How many fights did you have?
I had 3 local Muay Thai
Puerto
fights
Rico, Santurce.
in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think they even count, They were like, they were charging entrance, but I cannot find them, There's probably one on YouTube that's recorded out of all of them.
Oh, cool, man.
And that's just how it started for me. And then it ended up being that these opportunities came up against this guy who I have on social media, and he's done really well for himself. His name's Marcus Surin.
Okay.
He fought for Bellator. Tough guy from
dude.
Renzo Gracie in New York. He's great. And I remember going to New York, and his corner was Frankie Edgar.
Fuck.
And I was pretty confident. I thought I was gonna do good, but that's how I knew, like, no matter how good you are athletic or in any other department, you just won't beat a guy that has the experience over you on the ground.
Right.
Throwing a punch, 50-50.
Right.
You might not nothing, but like if you hit me one time and you connect it where you're supposed to,
Right.
we're in a fight.
Yeah.
In the ground, you have no way of getting up or doing anything
Right,
if you
right.
wanted to against somebody that knows how
He
to
knows
do
what
it.
he's doing. Yeah.
This guy by the time, collegiate wrestler, I think he was a purple belt.
Shit, dude. And your
Yeah.
ground game was barely zero, nothing.
Immediately, it went to the ground. And the fight, he caught me on a guillotine. I forgot how long into it.
Yeah.
Probably a few minutes. You know, I moved around, got out of a few things, but it was just a matter of time, or probably I would have gotten hurt later in the rounds, right?
Right.
But then that happened, and that was like a really big reality check for me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you're 6'3", you fight at 170, you're a pretty big guy, but anybody who can actually like wrestle or has good grappling is probably gonna have an edge on you.
Yeah.
So setback for me, and then later on in life I ended up hitting a jiu-jitsu gym because a friend of mine took me.
Yeah.
And that was really it. He was like, you cannot fight unless you start training jiu-jitsu.
So you got into jiu-jitsu because you wanted to keep fighting?
Okay, so this is a good question. I you know how I told you I got kicked out of college and stuff like that, right? When I go back home, so I sort of like derailed in life, right? Ended up making bad decisions, and I ended up in treatment. I went to rehab here in South Florida, actually, and that was in 2014.
Okay.
When I was in rehab, the clinical director, it was an inpatient facility. I was there for 6 months.
Wow.
He told me like, and you couldn't leave unless somebody picked you up and brought you back under a certain time and curfew. This guy is like, I want you to meet someone. I was like, I heard that you like martial arts. I think you're gonna get along with this guy. At least give it a shot. I was like, yeah, of course. I'm trying to get out of here. You know,
Yeah, whatever.
I'll do whatever. This guy better pick me up.
Yeah.
And then he shows up. It ends up being Charles Rosa.
Yeah.
So Charles fought for the UFC. He still fights. He's a pro fighter. And basically he takes me to American Top Team. The one before the one they opened in Coconut Creek.
Yeah.
Was another location before.
Not the Doral one, right?
Not the Doral one.
That one closed.
It was still Coconut Creek, I believe, but it wasn't the
main
big one
location,
now.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he takes me to practice. I do sparring. He was like, man, you're pretty good, you know? Like, I didn't think I was going to pick up a kid in treatment and, like, he was going to hang on.
Oh, so he was doing it, like, for...
Just to take me out.
Okay.
And, like, give me a chance. He was like, man, I got a pretty big schedule, you know, pretty busy schedule. I'm in the UFC. Like, I can't just be, like, going out of my way and doing things all the time. But I'm going to give you a shot. I need you to call me every day if you want this. And I was like, well... You know, he wants discipline for me. When I like something, I sort of like go after it.
Right.
And I start calling this guy. I was like, fuck, he doesn't answer. Eventually, he ends up reaching out. He calls my phone on the room and he's like, I'm going to take you to the gym. And that's when that happened.
Okay.
After that, he's like, you're really good, but you shouldn't really be fighting if you don't know jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And I noticed immediately. I was like, and Puerto Rico jiu-jitsu scene has grown a lot.
Yeah.
Ever since, you know, the culture's grown.
Since like Gordon Ryan went over there to live, that's when they popped.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
And then at that time, it was just like, you know, I have a picture with Robbie Lawler and Dustin Poirier.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
The same day that he took me in. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Those are the guys I see on the TV.
Right.
That's like if a Puerto Rican or Dominican guy like sees an MLB player, you know, that's the big thing for them.
Right.
But you most likely have an access to seeing one of those guys in a UFC guy when the sport is not really common over there.
Right.
And that's just what it was for me. This guy takes me to a gym and he covers it. He was like, if you commit to this, then, you know, it can become like a different thing. And he sort of like shared his story. It was super eye-opening.
Yeah.
He lost 2 brothers of overdoses. So it was something that like, it sort of like woke me up.
Yeah, you kind of had like a connection to that.
I had a connection, you know, and immediately on the fact that like this person changed his life struggling with something. Like it doesn't matter what you're really struggling with, as long as you put an effort into like improving on yourself, you're gonna be okay, you know? Like if you don't stop like looking for that and like fighting it, you'll always be able to come out, you know? And I just assimilated that with fighting.
Yeah.
And if you look at Charles, it's the same way he fights. He never stops. So he always has a chance. And once he put that in my head, I was like, I'm gonna go into jiu-jitsu.
So you started That's pretty intense. You started jiu-jitsu at American Top Team under Ricardo Lavario, but the things that you're talking about when it comes to addiction, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you have to have that pathway that you need to work every day, and the correlations with that and training jiu-jitsu and getting better, there's a similarity.
There's a similarity, of course.
And then that. Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna step back a little bit. After he took me to the ATT over there, that was just a pro training. So I lived in Delray Beach, and he took me to Rodrigo Mendez, who was really close to his house, and it was like sort of in between me and him, where like he would help me out getting rides. And Rodrigo, which I appreciate a lot, it means a lot in my jiu-jitsu years, you know. He would give me rides also to my halfway house when I was done in treatment. So it was like a circle, and like the community gave back. It was like he helps me out with this, and then some other kid that was like somewhat like in a different position when he came into jiu-jitsu, and I had the opportunity, I had a car, I did the same for him.
Oh shit, that's pretty cool, man.
At one point, like Charles was like, you know what, man, like I did really well for myself. I got out, but this is what I wanted to pursue. But I feel like something that's going to be key for you is if you take from what you got and you keep passing it.
Yeah, you pay it forward.
And you pay it forward. So I try to do that at my capacity, right?
Right.
Every time I get a chance. And once I started doing Rodrigo at my purple belt, and then I went to train with Charles and Charles McCarthy, which they opened a gym, American Combat Gym.
Right.
And it McCarthy is a black belt under Liborio.
Yeah.
So where that lineage comes from. And all those guys, huge part of my jiu-jitsu time, for sure.
Do you still do that? Like, do you still pay it forward that way, like taking people to train? And
yeah. I try to do it all the time. I actually, it's good that you asked that question. I ended up working on the mental health and substance abuse field. Right now, I'm a case manager. I do contract work, but the main company I work for is Arch to Freedom. Love those guys. Okay. They really care. They're all about, helping others, and it's just one thing that like kept my schedule flexible, because I can meet the clients on certain times, and I can also make it to training and do my thing. I was like, this is the best of both worlds. Yeah. I was like, I don't think I ever want to do anything else.
Dude, you're living a great life. If you can train whenever you want, that's a great life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here. I'm doing a jiu-jitsu podcast with you guys on a Sunday. Yeah, it could definitely be worse.
It could be. It could be worse. So you still take people to training, and have you seen, like, from what I understand, you take people that have addiction, you take them into train as well. Have you seen that change similar to yours?
Yeah, every process is different.
Right. Yeah.
You can only sort of like try to pass what you can into them. At the end, they make their ultimate decision. But I do believe that it's a great outlet. The other day I was walking into the gym where I actually train now. I'm at Fight Sports Boynton Beach under Marcio Silva. And I was like, I don't know what I would do if I couldn't come and train like
that was my next question.
During the day.
Right.
It's like, sometimes I'm just like stressed. I got work. I got kids, wife, this or that, or I have 1,000 responsibilities. And it's so much better when I come here for that 1 hour.
Yeah, man. It clears your mind. Like, there's really nothing else, at least in my experience. Like, I've played other sports and I've tried other things. You surf. Too. Mm-hmm. Like, you surf. I never surf, but I bodyboard. And there's a similarity between those two feelings. But for me, it's higher when you train jiu-jitsu. Do you get that similarity when it comes
I get it too. There's something about going one-on-one on a sport, that brings something out of you that you wouldn't experience anywhere else. Surfing thing, it's amazing because if you're in really good shape because of jiu-jitsu and you have that mental leverage into always going and like physicality, you are always in an advantage when you go in. Not that you should underestimate the ocean, right? Never. Right. But you feel a little bit more capable when you're doing these things because you don't second guess as much.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean that's definitely like a correlation between. I mean, I'm not a surfer, but I'm assuming there's a correlation of second guessing yourself. You second guessing jiu-jitsu, fucked. Yeah. You're gonna get caught. You just gotta go flow, and you gotta just deal with whatever you're dealing with in that moment, and kind of just hope that your training, like if you're competing, let's say, you have to just hope that your training just kicks in, and usually it does. And I imagine it's the same thing with surfing. Like surfing, you kind of just gotta go with whatever the ocean throws at you. You can't be thinking twice. Yeah. That's the correlation that I get from it. But so, and there's something about jiu-jitsu that when you do jiu-jitsu, whether you get your ass kicked or not, the feeling is always positive when you come out.
Absolutely.
It's always like a positive feeling.
If you're always in a training room where like you're getting tapped out or you're getting submitted, you're in the right place.
Right.
It should never feel like you're getting everybody beat down, because at the end of the day, like, you got to put yourself in bad positions if that's the case, so you can get out of them. That's how you evolve. And that's not just jiu-jitsu. That's why it carries into life in many other ways.
And would you say that jiu-jitsu is like the main core thing that's helped you get through recovery and your obstacles in life?
Yeah, I think
even
it's
like to this day.
Yeah, even to this day, I look at it, and I look back into some of the decisions I made in my life, and I'm like, definitely like looking at jiu-jitsu and what I've come across. It's allowed me to like approach things very differently. Yeah. Like, I know on what I can take, and I know that some stuff that might get my thoughts cloudy might not be as bad as they actually are. And I just try to carry that onto my daily.
That's crazy that you can go in with that cloudy mind and those, I don't know if you call them sentiments, but those feelings and those that are driven by your thoughts, and go onto the mat, and then all of a sudden have this clear mind and think correctly. And maybe not correctly, but just clearer. Yeah, absolutely. And I've never experienced anything that does that for me that's not grappling. Because judo did it for me, but not at the level that jiu-jitsu did. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's how I felt about it, besides trying other martial arts. And yeah, how did that compare with the other martial arts? Because you stick with jiu-jitsu. I don't know if you're still doing Muay Thai. Yeah, no, and I never stop. I'm very open-minded. I always think, I can never stop learning any of them. Like, whenever I can and I have the opportunity, I glove up and go and do kickboxing if I had the chance. Yeah. Because like, it's one of those things where like kickboxing, you get hit and you can probably eventually, when you're older, hit a back. But jiu-jitsu, you can use a drilling partner forever. Yeah. You can always roll. And you got to use jiu-jitsu for your prototype, Like, if you're older, you might not play an inverted game. Right. But you can still do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So you can't do an inverted at 80, bro. And you can't play getting hit. That's true. And I'm not trying to get hit forever. No, bro, you don't want to be hit forever. That's for sure. But yeah, that's the way I like to look at it. Yeah, that's crazy that when you go into the real details of what the benefits of training, like, yeah, you learn this martial art, but there's so much more benefits that are really not spoken about when it comes to training jiu-jitsu. I think it's that mental, that emotional stability, and it's a healthy escapism that we get when we're on those mats. Yeah, absolutely. And like, did you ever have to battle with ego when you're training? Yeah, I would say ego's a big thing. Yeah, man. On everybody, every day. You gotta sort of like leave it at the door. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't get better. And sometimes you feel like you are, and you still haven't like let it go completely. It's like, I don't want to let that guy actually catch my back and finish me when he doesn't deserve it. Yeah, dude, that's true. Like, and especially when you're been training for a couple of years, you'll catch yourself in egos, and usually that's when you get injured. Yeah, all the time. Dude, the first episode I had Amado come on, and he's a blue belt, but he's one of those blue belts I've been training since he was a kid. And he's nasty at straight ankles. He caught me in a straight ankle, and I didn't want to fucking tap, and I couldn't walk right for like a week. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, dealing with the ego, even I can imagine the black belt helping me at brown belt. There's sometimes that ego's still there. Yeah, imagine and the benefit that you get when that ego's there is reduced. Yeah, absolutely. Imagine like, you get on these bad positions, right? And you don't take advantage. Now that I'm a black belt, I look at it this way, right? And I said it the same all the way to brown and when I was purple belt, but like, if you don't put yourself in a bad position and leave the ego at the door, now that you're a black belt, you really go and train with anybody. And you don't really have an excuse if they catch you on that. You better know how to get out. Right. You've been putting in the time. Like, you should know this. And also have the maturity too to go in and not feel like you got to go 100%. But like, one day you go in and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm a little bit better than this guy. So I don't win this round unless I catch their backs and rear naked choke them. Like, play mental games in your head, and they might not think that they might think that they're beating you. Yeah, but you're really improving on a training room where like you thought you could have been limited. Right. If you look at things another way. Yeah, so you can always get better at just a matter of the level that you're training against a person. You put yourself in a bad spot. Dude, I had this guy that I used to train with when I was back in Aliens, and he was so much better than me that he would put his hand in his belt. And he would still kick my ass. Demoralizing. Dude, it's the worst. It's the worst to be in that spot. But going back to what we're talking about, I think there's an element. How do you feel about the element that in order to get jiu-jitsu better at jiu-jitsu, you have to face the difficulties up front. You have to face the obstacle. How do you feel that correlates to everything that you're doing and everything that you've done? How is that when you kind of felt or understood that was the way to go through things, to face the difficult aspects?
Yeah. And I think you always got to look at it that way. You know, it's not comfortable.
It's not.
You know, when you have somebody mount you that knows what they're doing, you feel like, you feel sort of like handicapped. You're like, I'm never gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a hard thing. That's why a 1% makes it to black belt. You know, like. And
that's the people that start. Think about put that same percentage to the population of people that never started. That's a really small percentage.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So if you look at it like that, if you didn't have obstacles, everybody would be doing jiu-jitsu. But it really is a challenging thing. You know? Overall, it's very mental.
Yeah, man. And I think that's the part that makes it beautiful.
Like the amount of times that I wake up and I don't really want to go train, I'm like, I need to go because so and so are there, you know, and they're gonna get better and they're eventually gonna catch me. And like now I'm 31, I'm about to be 32, and I got a kid. Like, you know, they're gonna take advantage that I can't sleep, and they're gonna beat me up in the morning. So you better be there.
That's true, man. You have to show up. And that's the thing. It never stops, man.
Yeah.
It never stops. Like maybe other martial arts, you get the black belt and it's maybe you don't have to confront those obstacles as much. But in jiu-jitsu, it's now you have a black belt, now you have a target.
No, yeah, now I got a target.
Now you have a target on your back.
I got a target, but I consider it's a blessing too to have a good group of people around you. Yeah. You know, they always say in all sports, but I think martial arts is very particular with this. You end up training with people that you have a similar mindset to, or that you feel like you can empathize with.
Do you think that the community aspect helped a lot as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
With the road that you were going down?
And it's changed a lot, you know? I
How
think throughout the years, the whole thing has changed. But like, in my particular opinion, because I know everybody has a different opinion on this, but for example, I felt like learning from Charles was really good because me and Charles related to a deeper connection, you know? So I was like, it's working for him, and then I'll be more open-minded to think that he does, right? Now, my coach now, for example, Marcio Silva. Marcio's like almost 50, and Marcio runs through the gym. Marcio cleans the mat. He cleans the mat with all of us, you know? And a lot of them are 20, 22.
I'm probably taking it easy too.
Very hungry kids that like don't do anything but run, lift, and train jiu-jitsu all day. And for a guy that's 50 like that, just to whoop you, dude, it sort of humbles you, you know?
You have no other choice, man. To be humble. If you want to keep training, you have no other choice but to take those humble experiences and put them in your pocket.
And that's how I look at it now. I'm like, well, I'm at a point, you know, I'm training with this guy, and he's 50. He carries a healthy lifestyle. He's been a world champion. Yeah. You know, gi, no gi. He's amazing. You know, he's under Fight Sports, really close with Cyborg. All those guys are always gonna be solid. It's like a family. Everybody knows Fight Sports. Good jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
But like, sure, this guy represents, he's my model now, right? Yeah. So I sort of like mimic what my model is showing me. Right. You know, the other day we got into a good conversation, and I was like, being a jiu-jitsu coach is very similar to what I do.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a case manager. I try to help people and direct them in a way where I feel like their lives can get better. Right? This guy gets different lifestyles, and hopefully throughout jiu-jitsu, they sort of like take the right direction, you know?
Yeah.
And make what's best for themselves. And we sat for a little bit, and I was like, damn, I don't think I ever realized how similar this could be.
Yeah, man.
And it's, you know, it's endless, the amount of story that he has about students that have come into the gym and go out. And I'm sure it'll be the same for us in the future, you know?
Yeah. So you use that model mentality, which I think is great. It's like having a positive, because it can work the other way. You could have a negative model to follow, right?
Yeah. And I think we're blessed in South Florida. You see it, you know, there were guys here before us, and everywhere you look, there's high level jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, man.
You know, Fight Sport, Wagner. You go up there, MMA is huge in South Florida. Yeah. You can probably like turn left and right and bump into a school, and it's gonna be.
Huh? I just said ground game theory. Yeah.
And it's gonna be way better than, you know, any other state that you walk into. You know, and similar happens in the West Coast and up on the Northeast. But for the most part, you look at all the places, and we're very, very blessed to be in these 3 spots.
Yeah, it's crazy because South Florida also has all that negative shit that goes with it too, man.
Yeah.
But we have all that positive shit too. We have that jiu-jitsu, we have that healthy lifestyle that some people decide to take on, and I think that it's like a balance, man.
Yeah,
it's like a balance. You have all those things in front of you, like all the bad shit in front of you, but you also have all these great things in front of you. You really have to make that decision all the time.
Yeah, that's what we were going. It goes right back there. You know, it's a decision.
Yeah,
of what you decide to do.
And jiu-jitsu has this
day.
core, this way of changing your lifestyle, at least in my opinion, just because you want to get better at jiu-jitsu. Right?
Yeah,
in my opinion, like
yeah.
Like I stopped drinking, not because I had a problem or anything, but I stopped drinking because I wanted to get better at jiu-jitsu and lose weight. I was getting older and all that stuff, and I'm like, I gotta fucking stop doing. I either eat good food because my wife's Peruvian, she cooks amazing, or I cut the drink out. I'm gonna eat good, but I want to do it to get better at jiu-jitsu, lose some weight.
That's a great point, you know. And like I feel sometimes like I go out. I'm sure you probably relate to this. I'm like, I go out with my wife, and I was like, I don't know if I want to be and hang out around these guys. You
Dude,
know, like
100%.
They don't know anything about jiu-jitsu. They don't talk about surfing. And then I'm also not like a super financial person. So when they talk about numbers and all this stuff, I'm like, I'm gone, you know?
Dude, that happens to me all the time. Like, and the thing is, I'll break. Luckily, my wife trains, but like, she gets tired of it too because I'm always talking about jiu-jitsu or the training that we had that day or whatever the case may be. But if they're not talking about jiu-jitsu or at least something in that realm of like martial arts, and they're talking about something completely different, I'll get bored super quick, dude. And it could be interesting shit. Like it could be, I don't know, it could be like investing or finance, like the example that you gave. But it's just there's nothing that just doesn't. My brain just leaves.
I know. And I was leaving the gym the other day. I told my coach, I was
they become your closest friends, man. That can
no, they do. And like throughout jiu-jitsu, and that's one thing like you discover once you like are in the community, right? Like, you tend to travel, you meet people, you know, like there's not one trip I go to Puerto Rico and I don't surf or do jiu-jitsu.
That's a good day.
That's a good day. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I gotta go. And wife and family was like, really? You can one day just like hang with your family and like jiu-jitsu? I was like, I'm asking for 1 hour. I'll give you the other 23. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And that's like, for example, when we met through Keith, right?
Yeah.
When he's like, oh yeah, tengo un pana que hace jiu-jitsu. I don't know if this happens to you, but he's like, oh, tengo un pana que hace jiu-jitsu. And I was like, okay. Everybody says we do jiu-jitsu. And then he's like, oh no, but when he told me, he's like, oh, he's a purple belt. I'm like, okay, I can talk to this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Because everybody says like, oh, I've done jiu-jitsu, this and that, but like, there's this element that when you know the person's been and they're in that community and they've been in it a while, that they're not just tourists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They come in, they do like one class, couple classes, and they leave and they tell everybody they do jiu-jitsu. Those motherfuckers. But like when it's somebody that's been in the community for a minute, you know that they're taking it. Like once you hit that purple belt level, just to give a level, I don't give a shit about belts, but once you hit that amount of training.
Yeah. It just says that you put your time in.
Right. You have that lifestyle, right? And you know that there has to be some sort of obsession with it.
Yeah.
And once I know that person has that obsession too, I'm like, okay.
We're gonna vibe.
We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. Because how many people have you talked to that are like, oh yeah, my friend does jiu-jitsu, and it's like one of those, and you maybe talk to them, and it's like,
yeah, and you probably bump into those way more often than you do into the ones that do.
Yeah,
you know,
like the ones that say, oh, so you do like that karate thing, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about it. Not everybody sticks to it. You know, it's not an easy thing. So once like they pass that, it's like the check. You know,
it's like you have to pass a certain amount of training for it to be, or just be like kind of a fanatical about it. I can have a great conversation with somebody that started 2 months ago and was just fanatical about it, and it's that guy's gonna be there for a while. Because there's people that walk into the gym that they're gonna leave.
Yeah.
And then there's people that walk in and then you're like, okay, this guy's gonna stay, unless like life happens or whatever. But like the potential that they're gonna stay, and those guys usually click with really quickly. I wonder what it is that person has that makes them. Because you talk about jiu-jitsu, but it's also we don't have to talk about jiu-jitsu all the time. We could just talk about anything, and it's a lot easier. And I wonder what that element in that personality of the person that's staying in jiu-jitsu that allows us to create those relationships a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's got to be something.
Yeah, there's got to be something. I mean, and this podcast can be like another 24 hours. You know, it can keep going forever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, whether you're trying to join jiu-jitsu, right, or not, we're always taught, no matter what gym you're at, you know, we're gonna take the white belt and treat it like, you know, the most important person in the room.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you want that person to become your training partner.
Right.
And they don't get good unless you show them.
Right.
You know?
And it's scary, bro. Walking into a jiu-jitsu gym as a white belt, dude, and it's it's intimidating. You know what I mean? Even as a blue belt, like let's say you start as there was a point in my life that there was anxiety when I would go to the gym, like as a blue belt.
Yeah. Because you're always like, there's that guy again.
Yeah, dude. There's always that one guy. Beat up,
like, oh my god, it's been a year,
and it doesn't change.
And I still don't get out of that side control.
Bro, and there's some people that put that pressure, but it's a nerve wracking thing. And when they start at jiu-jitsu, you kind of reminisce on how you felt when you walked in. You're nice to that person.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You're nice. Other gyms, some gyms not as much, but for example, the good gyms, Fight Sports, Ground Game, Mortalis, all those people, they have that welcoming environment and allow that person to stay, like try to make it easier for them to stay. And I think that's what makes because they understand the struggle. But I don't know, man. I think that it's pretty interesting that you dedicated to your life to what you do, to helping others, and you found that correlation with a jiu-jitsu coach.
Yeah,
have you ever thought about opening a school?
I did at one point.
Yeah, everybody does when you're training that line. Like, if you're fucking dope.
Yeah, it would be really cool. You know, I thought about it. I was like, and my dad always reminds me. I was like, you remember you wanted to open a school? And I was like, I haven't really like necessarily discredited that from my list, right? Because it's just somewhere where like you would feel like you go work. It's like your own chill time.
Yeah.
It would be way nicer than to like go and have a commitment. You just go show techniques and get to roll with the guys. You know.
It's harder than that, but since you're obsessed with it, it becomes like your passion becomes like
because you like it.
Because you like it.
Whatever you really put an effort to, because you're like I'm not a good student, but I can guarantee you that if it was about jiu-jitsu, I'm in the phone like looking at techniques all day. I was like, I lose sleep over it.
Yeah, man.
I'm like, I need to do this tomorrow.
You're in the shower and you're like, how the fuck do I get out of that fucking cross ashi? Like, it's not working. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like,
yeah, dude, it's nonstop. But that's at the same time that makes it like a progressive thing for you. That's why you're always getting better. You know, you're thinking about it in other places.
And you apply that to other things in life too.
I'm definitely not thinking about algebra or what I learned, you know, when I was in school.
Dude, I don't think anybody's thinking about algebra on the daily. And if they do, they're probably like math teachers.
Yeah.
But yeah, the jiu-jitsu is and it's jiu-jitsu for me at least, because I've done other grappling sports and that the community, I don't know if it's the community or it's the art itself, allows for more creativity and allows for you to develop in a more positive, not positive, I don't even want to use the word positive, but it allows you to develop in your own way.
Yeah.
And I think that it's structured, but it's unstructured in a way.
Mm-hmm. You got unique characters in there. You know, there's everything.
Dude, yeah.
There's one of everything in every gym.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
There's one that comes in smelling like weed. There's always one of those that comes smelling like weed. You have the nerds that are taking over, bro.
No, they're the best.
Bro, they're taking over.
You can't underestimate any of them.
No, bro. Like, I'm more worried about a nerd guy, like a geeky guy that's really studying the art than a big, strong dude.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's crazy how it went from that, because before when it started, like when UFC started and all that stuff, well, not the UFC, but like jiu-jitsu was like rewarded motherfuckers, which there still exists. It's still
they're out there.
They're out there, but like the nerdy guys are coming in and starting to, or have been for
it's a while. Changed a lot, you know. It's changed, and it's a beautiful thing that it changes all the time. You know, like the new thing, leg locks, right? Everybody loves leg locks, but they've been around for a minute.
Yeah.
It's just like this oversized clothing, right? It used to be the thing back then. Now it's like coming back. So
I wonder what the next thing's gonna be.
I wonder too, but we should be looking into it right now if we want to get ahead of the game.
Yeah, I wonder what the next thing's gonna be, because leg locks has stayed for a little bit. I remember that there was a point in time that it was berambolas.
Yeah.
Remember the berambola?
Yeah, of course I remember.
The berambola time. You don't like the berambolas?
I don't like. I mean, it's not my game, but you gotta know it too.
What's your
game?
What
I mean? I mean, I like playing guard, half guard.
Yeah, you're a tall guy.
Yeah, I like that, and started doing more passing lately.
Yeah.
I had some injuries on my back, so I'm trying to like change it up a little bit.
How about your back?
Lower back and neck, I have disc herniations.
Oh shit.
And I have an ACJ separation from like a year and a half ago that I had. That was like my major setback. It like hurts me. I don't think I did the rehab properly. Then I went straight into grappling.
Yeah.
Right? And sort of limited in some movements. But
you can't raise your hand.
Yeah, like going upwards with weight, it's really hard.
How does that help with surfing?
Huh?
Do you feel it when you surf?
I don't feel it as much. The reason I feel it with weight is because I have callus.
Oh, okay.
My bones stay like that. And sort of like dislocated.
Oh, shit.
I have a bump, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it rubs every time. And some movement, it bothers me. But with time and like getting more in like more physical shape, it's improved for sure. It's just, it limits you a little.
Yeah, man, that's gonna suck. And I like that there's a correlation between surfing and jiu-jitsu. I can imagine you probably have like a bunch of friends in jiu-jitsu that surf, especially the Brazilian.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them. And I'm not like the best surfer ever, you know, but the physical conditioning that jiu-jitsu gave me.
I think
like,
Keith told me that you were better than him.
Debatable. No, but listen, the thing is we're some of the best out there because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
We go out there and like we don't really care about what anybody says. Right now, being like new dads.
Yeah, dude.
And the whole thing, we're just happy to be out there floating. You know?
They just give you a time to float. Even there's no waves.
Yeah. Little
no
things
kids.
for us,
we're here. We're floating. It's
we can
great.
get away for a few hours. I think our day is pretty much.
You push them
done.
on the board.
Yeah.
So you can stand up. You did it.
So we're doing that. Yeah, that's been quite the change too. You know, we became that recently.
How's that going with I have my personal experience with having kids and training jiu-jitsu. How's that? Because your first one, right?
Yeah, it's my first.
How's that been training and managing that, having a new kid, which is a beautiful boy, right?
Yeah, it's a boy.
Yeah.
Alejandro. Yeah. No, Alejandro. It's the best, man. It's really cool to go home, you know, and have that little guy just like crazy full of energy when you have no energy.
Yeah.
Just to try to bring that on you. It's life changing.
Yeah.
It has its moments, of course, you know. It's like you gotta deal with it. Waking up at night when you don't want to.
And then going to train.
Yeah, and going to train, but
that's hard, bro.
It's hard, and it can really put you off of routine.
Yeah.
But the difference is when you got the discipline and you just show up, you know, man. Even though you're tired, makes a big difference because showing up when you don't want to, it's better than leaving 3 weeks and feeling like you've never trained before.
So those breaks like that of taking 3 weeks off, which is a valid point. I mean, it's valid if you have a new kid, you know what I mean? It's valid, but coming back, it sucks so bad.
It sucks. It
sucks because your body doesn't move the way that you're thinking it should move. And I think that whenever you take a break or jiu-jitsu, it's like that. For me, it's even if it's a couple days, dude.
Yeah, no, and more when you're like a competitive person at heart, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
Dude.
You're like always trying to like, for whatever stupidity, you're trying to be competitive. You know.
Yeah.
How is it that it's been like 3 days? I gotta do something. I gotta drink this gallon of water. Or I'm gonna get smoked when I get back in there. You know.
So you do think that are auxiliary to I don't know if that's the word, but you do things that are apart away from jiu-jitsu in order to get better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like what things you do?
Listen. I'm not gonna say I eat perfectly and I do all these things, but I'm about becoming a healthier version of myself
right.
as I can, right? In terms of dieting, I suck. I eat whatever I want.
Yeah.
You know, and I deal with it after and complain. But
why did I eat that shit?
Like Chick-fil-A. That's like my new thing, you know?
Dude, but the Chick-fil-A is not that bad. I'll go dirty and hit a Taco Bell.
Yeah, no, they're good too.
I'll go.
You gotta do it.
I'll go dirty, bro, and I'll hit up a Taco Bell at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? And then the next day, it's just not. I'm not feeling myself. It's like I'm hungover.
Yeah.
It's the worst. So, are there other things that you do that are apart from diet? Like, do you watch tape just to get better?
I do like watching tape. I've stopped doing it because it keeps me from sleeping. I'm like in my bed at 11 o'clock and I was like, I can't go to sleep. And I'm just like thinking about moves. And I was like, I need to put an end to this.
Yeah.
So I stopped trying to like watch stuff way too late.
Is there something you're working on right now you're trying to get better at?
Man, I try to get better every week whenever I get the chance to go in.
But is there like a certain like a certain style or not style, like a certain system that you're working on?
I wouldn't say I'm working on a particular system. I'm working on being efficient.
Okay.
Yeah.
How so?
You know, like we were talking about, right?
Okay.
If we take it back to the dad thing, coming back into taking it like into a higher pace with guys that are like doing this multiple times a day, considering I don't have the availability to do that.
Right.
I gotta figure a way where like I might not be like spazzy and acrobatic like them,
right?
But I can hang in there and I can do the open mat and be like, okay, I did 10 rounds today. You know what I mean?
How's that open mat over there?
it can get pretty hectic. You know what I mean? And like, if
how many bodies do you think are in there?
You know, I've learned that it doesn't have to do a lot with how many bodies are in there.
No?
You need 5 guys that are really good.
Yeah.
And you might not even roll with the 5 of them. That's true. If they know what they're doing.
Right.
And that's kind of one of the good things that like we got going on. Everybody's solid. If you're brand new and you come in the door, they start you in, but like you'll pick up really quickly because that's just the way we want to do things. You know, we want people to start picking up and being a part of it.
Right.
And feel like they can hang in with everybody. And once the confidence there,
you got to build them up in order to have good training partners. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You have to, because if not, nobody's going to walk in through the door. Like you're not going to grow the gym if you're just murking them.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you think about it, like there's days, this applies to me now, right? Yeah. There's days where like I don't feel amazing when I go in. I'm tired, and like my day literally ends like at 10, 11 at night, and I wake up at 6 because of the kid, and I keep going. And you know, I just gotta show up and try to find a way where like I can last that pace every time, you know? So there are things for me that have been working a little bit more.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That I just try to like continue and improve it. I was like, okay, this is working for me. So maybe if I'm heavier
I was
like
saying,
this.
That's what I was saying. It's like dad jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I get that. Solid.
And it's not like I want it, you know, but it's where I'm at in my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So it gets better, dude. Like I have older kids, and then once they're older, it comes a lot easier. You train a lot more.
Yeah, of course. And I can't wait for it. It's getting way better too.
You think about putting him in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm gonna let him do whatever he wants to do.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I feel like this is a martial art where like it feels like more inviting and more beneficial for him at a young age, right?
Dude, I try to get my kids to go. Like my second, Ignacio, he's not really into jiu-jitsu, but I try to get him to go at least once or twice a week, just so that he can have that physical, environment. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think if you're not gonna, because he's really into gaming. That's what he likes gaming. So like I like to bring him in twice a week with me or whatever, and let him train, so that he can at least have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I try to do that with all my kids.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, you got to do something physical.
It's just different upbringings, right?
Yeah.
Like I wasn't offered jiu-jitsu or anything like that. You know, I was raised doing just regular sports when I was growing up.
What'd you play?
I like baseball when I was young.
That makes sense. You seem like a baseball player.
I've been somewhat athletic where like I made the teams, but I wasn't necessarily like the team captain and all of them. But I made basketball, I made volleyball.
Where'd you go to school in Puerto Rico?
In Perpetua.
You're from Perpetua. Yeah.
So I made them, maybe not to be like on the scene the whole time, but I was decent enough where I made it to those. And I always piqued interest in like combat sports, but it was really never a thing that was like in my house. It wasn't encouraged, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually, I guess you're put in situations where you end up being in it, you know?
Yeah. Of course.
And I guess it worked out. Probably if I seeked it back then, I wouldn't have lasted, you know? Yeah,
it's true, man. Like to your point, I did martial arts since I was 3, but mostly it was judo. And I got burned out with judo. It's like it was competing every month. It was hard on the body, and I was like, I got burned out. I think that's took away my liking competition.
Yeah,
was just competing all the time, and then I never said I got to a high level, but I got to train with high level people, like in camps and stuff. And the way that they have to train in order to get to that next level, in order to really compete and really do what they're doing, it's very draining.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Very draining. Like it kick my ass. I'm like, I don't even care about. I just want to get good at jiu-jitsu. That's it. And maintain that and make sure that I at least have like a level that I'm proud of. Which the funny thing is that you're never at a level that you're proud of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like life. You're always trying to be something better. You know? It's that's why the correlation, you know, it's just crazy.
The thing is that like when you step into like a jiu-jitsu and you really like it and you want to grow in it, that obsession is what keeps you going. Like knowing that you suck, but you want to get better. That's what keeps you going.
Yeah, I agree. For sure.
I mean, so you played sports when you were a kid, and you didn't get to combat sports until like you told me, and you switched over to jiu-jitsu. What was it that made that jiu-jitsu so that's the one that you really focused on?
Going from like, because if you like the fighting thing, right, the combat sports at that point when I started,
because you did MMA and then you just like
when I did Muay Thai, I was like, I want to try MMA, but then I was like, like it takes a particular mindset to want to be like a fighter, you know? And
what do you think that mindset is?
And I really liked it. I just know that I wasn't trying to like sacrifice everything I had to want to do that, and it's not a game.
Yeah.
You're actually fighting. So nowadays amateurs train literally day and night.
Yeah.
And they're in and out, they're sponsored. They're as good as a pro used to be back then.
Right.
So it's you can get hurt if you're not fully into it. So if your mind and soul are not in, you should consider it.
And you're like, fuck that. I'm not
No, listen.
I'm not getting punched in the face.
Yeah. It's not fun.
It's not fun getting punched in the face. I'll stick with the grappling. It's better.
So, and going to that, once I got into jiu-jitsu and I competed for the first time, I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. I get the nerves.
Yeah.
Like, I get to actually go one-on-one with this person. Nerves. Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
And testing yourself, even though you do it once, it's you sort of have to do it. You can't really put into words what that's like unless you've been through it.
Are you gonna compete still? Or are you gonna think
No, I don't think I'm like looking that way, you know. Maybe I'll give it a shot just to like see where I'm at eventually.
Yeah, the black belt. I was asking to see the black because you just got black belt. I'm like, let me see if this motherfucker wants to go in and and go into this black
belt. And there's everything out there. You know what I mean? There's different levels of competition, and I think everybody's known. There's blue belts out there that look ridiculous. And there's purple belts that look like insane.
Yeah.
Same with browns and black. You can be a really good black belt. You can be elite level black belt.
Yeah.
But
and you can be a shitty black belt.
And you can be a shitty black belt.
Yeah, man.
The good thing is like if you're in a training room where like you're always tested, the chances of running into a situation where like it will be unknown, it lowers.
It
lowers. So I think that's if I ended up trying, I think I'm in a good place. And with a good group of people that will walk me through the process.
Yeah. So I mean, you're definitely in a good place. You're coming out of fight sports.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy where I'm at. I think they promote you because they think you're there.
Yeah.
And it's I think I'm maybe the second person my coach has promoted to black belt.
Oh, that's cool.
My coach, yeah. So it's good. Think I'm going in the right direction. He thinks I should be there, then why not?
Is it a fairly new gym? The one in Deerfield? It's in Deerfield, right?
So he owns Fight Sports Boston, and he opened in Boynton Beach now.
Okay.
It's Boynton not now. Beach. Last year.
Okay, I was saying Deerfield. I thought you were fighting on the one in Deerfield.
No, the Deerfield one is JC, I believe.
Okay.
That's probably, I would say like 40 minutes from Miami.
So you're in the Boynton one, okay. So
I'm in the Boynton one, and so far so good. Love it. It's like a family there.
Yeah, man, I can imagine.
And a lot of the gyms you go into, once you're in, you're pretty much like family. Jiu-jitsu is just good community overall. And
do you have a preference? I'm asking everybody this. Do you have a preference between gi and no gi?
I like both.
You like both?
Yes.
Oh, you're right in the middle, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm right in the middle. I'm a fan of no gi. I think it's very high paced and makes it really fun and entertaining to watch if you're an spectator, right? Like you wouldn't you watch a high level match of guys doing gi and it might seem like somewhat boring to somebody that doesn't know what they're watching. So for training and like getting a kick out of it, I like the no gi. But the gi, I'm also a believer that, man, if you're gonna wear your black belt, like you gotta know how to train in the gi.
Yeah.
It's completely different too.
Yeah.
You put a gi on somebody that's never done gi and you get choked from everywhere.
Yeah.
Including with the belt. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane.
You choke me with a belt?
Man, you can choke them.
Can you really?
I don't know.
Are there chokes with the belts?
I think they are.
There might be.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
What I mean at the end of the day is like,
I get what you're saying.
You can choke with the material.
Yeah.
And that's like, if you're with clothes outside, and you know how to do that, you got to
if you're in Boston, you have a sweater on.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good day.
It's going to be a good day.
It's going to be a good day. Yeah, man. I don't know. I've gone back into the no-gi because of the pace.
I love it.
I like grappling in general.
I love it. I try not to lose either.
Yeah, I think mine goes down when I focus more on one.
And no-gi is probably just, I don't know. You walk into it, it's more like you're ready to go. Instead of like, I need to bring my V. I need to make sure it's washed and all these things. You know, you probably have like 5 pairs of shorts. Compared to geese. And just ready to go all the time in a backpack.
That's good. And then you have to wash them and shit.
Yeah. So, but overall, just trying to keep the level in both. I feel like it's important.
Yeah, of course it is. So I want to talk a little bit more about what you do. Right. And I want to know, like, in your personal experience, what is it that I can imagine you love what you do. So what is it that brought you to make that decision to do what you do as a caseworker? Is it a satisfying? I imagine it's a satisfying job.
Actually, I want to tell you how it was coincidental that I ended up doing what I do.
Really?
But it ended up being a realization later in life that I thought it was just like meant to be.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I remember like my parents like being like, you need to find a job, you gotta work, and it looked better. I feel like a few years back, like to look like you were actually working, you needed to wear like a long sleeve, like pants. Like it was like, that guy has a job, And I'm like Keith, I like being in shorts, and like
Keith does like being in shorts,
and my kicks and like everything, and I was like, it's way more comfortable, whatnot. And the treatment field is just a little bit more flexible.
Yeah,
they don't really care about much as long as you help somebody get out of wherever they're at if they're struggling. And I was in school at the time, working a full-time job, and I asked for a different shift, and they didn't let me do it to like finish school.
Right.
And I was doing business administration just to finish.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it. I felt like having it would just like look good. And then I ended up working at an overnight treatment facility. And it was a detox, and it was like insane.
Yeah.
You get people coming from the streets like at all times at night, and it will get chaotic.
Shit.
Chaotic.
You ever had to use your jiu-jitsu?
Huh?
You ever had to use your jiu-jitsu?
No, but you would have people experiencing like full psychosis in the moment. Like it can get pretty crazy. And it would definitely come handy. Right. But you already know that when you do this, there's a point where like you don't really care how bad the situation gets. Like it's really not that fun to get in a fight with somebody that has no idea what they're doing.
No, it's not. I get what you're saying.
It's just gonna be like a cool rap, a quick rap, right? Yeah. And I've been in situations where like you sort of like feel the threat that it can happen, but you sort of like develop this ability to de-escalate people naturally. Yeah. And that combined
you think that's because of the jiu-jitsu?
I think so. Yeah. Like I feel like if you're in a hostile environment, right, or a physical environment, and you're exposed to it on a daily basis, right, when you see a physical atmosphere, it becomes familiar. Yeah. So I feel like when you see a situation like that, combined with the expertise of like, this is what I do for work, then you got a pretty good combination to de-escalate somebody.
Yeah, man.
And I saw a lot of things. I saw some crazy shit in there. Yeah, it was. Well, the place closed.
Oh, because of shit that was going on there?
Well, I don't know exactly what happened, but I know it did close, and I've never seen stuff like the things I've seen there. It's crazy. It's crazy. And stories for another moment, probably. I guess like after that, I ended up working in a long-term treatment facility, and then I started doing case management. But what really makes me do what I do is that I can relate to these people. Yeah. I think everybody hit like a point in their life where you can relate to someone else, and you don't necessarily mean to. You don't need to have experienced that degree. Like you can struggle with somebody and be able to help somebody out. You don't necessarily, and I'm putting this example because there's people that go to school and they don't necessarily struggle with like, I don't know, a drug addiction or alcoholism, right? It doesn't mean that they can't help you. Yeah. But when you've been in it, way more likely the other person hears you out. Yeah. They just have empathy for it, Yeah,
it's having that empathy, dude. It's like you're treating everybody like a white belt just walked into the academy. Yeah. Empathy.
So imagine somebody being able to kind of like
saying what's up.
What's up?
Say it's 10 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't think he gave you the background for that one.
No, he did not. Probably look like an idiot.
No, it's okay. What's up?
So yeah, man, I think that really makes a difference, that you can empathize with people, and at the end of the day, it can get them, it can take them pretty far, and you don't know it. You know, it's crazy how life works out.
Yeah.
I've seen people that we've helped out in the facility, and they don't do good for a while, but there's really nothing better than a person 5 years later, like literally doing like this to you in Walmart and being like, Jose? I was like, yeah. It's like, man, you haven't seen me in a while. You probably don't remember my name, but I just want to tell you that, like, you helped me a lot. You changed my life.
Right.
And I've been like 3 years sober now. I was like, that's crazy. Yeah, you know what I mean? Story, and like sometimes people like you were like, this person's never gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. I'm telling you, people, heroin addicts, crack users, anything, whatever, you name it, they go through them doors, and it's no judgment. You know, we don't care what you've been through. We just help you out.
Yeah.
So mental health is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's way more out there than you think.
Yeah, man.
Actually, most of the good athletes struggle with it.
Yeah, dude.
You know, and it gives you an edge at the same time when you overcome it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like that's another subject for another day too. You know?
Dude. That's a whole another conversation.
But it's a different animal for sure.
Do you ever, like, when you're in winter training, do you ever, I'm not saying that you're equipped to diagnose, but you can tell when somebody's struggling when you're in the training room, right?
Yeah, you get pretty good at observing things.
Yeah.
You know, and
would you say that, like, being in a jiu-jitsu gym is a healthy?
Super healthy.
Usually healthy. Like, you'll see people come in with those struggles and levels.
Yeah, because you have people bring stressors from their life, you know, and once you do jiu-jitsu and you release stress, energy into it, right? It's like lifting weights, and then you feel like the pump, and you're like, oh my God, I can't lift anything else. You know what I mean? It's like I wasted all my energy. Now I don't feel like I want to hit someone, or I don't feel like I want to just strangle somebody, you know? That's what the control environment is for.
Because you get to strangle somebody.
Yeah, you get to strangle, and you get strangled quite often.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing, you know. It's like actually regulated. Like, go in there, man, and do your thing. You probably call out anybody in there, and then they'll give it to you. So go free and walk in.
Yeah.
It's like free therapy.
So wrapping up, anything you want to say?
Yeah, actually, I want to throw a shout out there for Unicity. I'm actually distributing this brand throughout the US. It's helped. I mean, I'm kind of including it now on my healthier approach to my lifestyle. It helps a lot with intermittent fasting. I'm into that. So it allows to burn fat from certain hours of the night all the way and connect to the fasting until noon.
Okay.
Pretty interesting.
That's pretty good.
Has a lot of antioxidants and a lot of other benefits. Helps with the blood pressure, cholesterol, many others. So if you're somebody that's looking into improving your health, I suggest it, and I'll make sure I provide the link for you guys in case it's that interest.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys.
You rolled to hurt me. All right, dude.